Hey everyone, today we're diving into the mysterious world of fault code P0357, ignition coil G, primary/secondary circuit failure. This code can be a real head-scratcher, leaving you wondering what exactly is wrong with your car's ignition system. But fear not, in this video we'll break down everything you need to know about this code, from what it means to how to diagnose and fix the problem. We'll cover the symptoms you might experience, the potential causes of the code, and the steps you can take to get your car back on the road. So, whether you're a seasoned mechanic or a weekend warrior, this video has something for you. Let's get started. The P0357 code indicates a fault in the ignition coil G, specifically a primary/secondary circuit failure. This means there's a problem with the electrical circuit that controls the ignition coil, preventing it from functioning correctly. Several factors can contribute to the P0357 code. Ignition coil G failure. The most common cause is a faulty ignition coil itself. Over time, the coil can wear out or become damaged, leading to a circuit failure. Damaged wiring or connectors. The wiring harness or connectors associated with the ignition coil G can become damaged or corroded, causing an interruption in the electrical circuit. PCM malfunction. In rare cases, the powertrain control module (PCM) that controls the ignition system may be malfunctioning, leading to an incorrect signal being sent to the coil. Other potential causes: spark plug issues, damaged ignition wires, faulty crankshaft position sensor, clogged catalytic converter. The specific symptoms of the P0357 code may vary depending on the vehicle and the severity of the problem. Common symptoms include misfires, rough idle, reduced engine power, and illuminated check engine light. Diagnosing the P0357 code requires a thorough inspection of the ignition system, including the coil, wiring, and connectors. Repairing the P0357 code typically involves replacing the faulty ignition coil or repairing any damaged wiring or connectors. In some cases, further troubleshooting may be necessary to identify and address the underlying cause of the problem. The P0357 code can cause a variety of symptoms, including misfiring. This is the most common symptom of the P0357 code. It can cause the engine to run rough, hesitate, or stall. Reduced engine power. The P0357 code can also cause a loss of engine power. This is because the misfiring can prevent the engine from producing its full power. Increased emissions. The P0357 code can also cause an increase in emissions. This is because the misfiring can cause the engine to burn more fuel than it should. Check engine light. The P0357 code will typically trigger the check engine light to come on. There are a few ways to diagnose the P0357 code. One way is to use an OBD2 scanner to read the trouble codes from the Engine Control Unit, ECU. The scanner will display the P0357 code, as well as any other codes that may be stored in the ECU. Another way to diagnose the P0357 code is to visually inspect the ignition coil and its wiring. Look for any signs of damage such as cracks, burns, or loose connections. You can also use a multimeter to test the resistance of the ignition coil and its wiring. The most common way to fix the P0357 code is to replace the ignition coil. However, there are a few other things that you can try before replacing the coil. Check the wiring. Make sure that the wiring to the ignition coil is not damaged or loose. Clean the spark plugs. Dirty spark plugs can cause misfiring, which can trigger the P0357 code. Check the fuel injectors. Make sure that the fuel injectors are not clogged or leaking. If you have tried all of these things and the P0357 code is still present, then you will need to replace the ignition coil. The P0357 code is a relatively common code, and it can be caused by a variety of factors. If you are experiencing any of the symptoms listed above, it is important to have the code diagnosed and repaired as soon as possible. Replacing the ignition coil is typically the most effective way to fix the P0357 code. If you are not comfortable replacing the ignition coil yourself, you can take your vehicle to a qualified mechanic.